Did you know that Taylor Swift and Matty Healy were just caught holding hands on camera? Britney Spears' finances have been called into question, and King Charles was just exposed by a lip reader for what he said inside the royal carriage. Okay, so it's officially on. Taylor Swift and Matty Healy were spotted kissing yesterday at a restaurant in New York City. They seemed to be on a double date with Jack Antonoff and his fiancée Margaret Qualley. For their outing, Taylor was wearing a green and yellow dress with velvet Mary Janes. She completed the look with her staple red lipstick. Matty, on the other hand, was dressed in a suit, a white dress shirt with matching Ray-Bans. They all sat together in the lounge of Casa Cipriani restaurant and sipped on drinks while enjoying the weather. According to eyewitnesses, neither Taylor or Matty ordered any food. Instead, they were mostly just cuddling and kissing. Later on, they were seen walking hand in hand as they made their way through the eatery. So now it's a little harder to deny that there's nothing going on between them. When reports first surfaced that they were together, fans were shocked. According to The Sun, they have been dating for around 2 months and they're super in love. An inside source said, "It's super early days, but it feels right. They first dated very briefly almost 10 years ago, but timings just didn't work out. They are both massively proud and excited about this relationship, and unlike Taylor's last one, which was very much kept out of the spotlight, she wants to own this romance and not hide it away." Later on, another insider spoke to Us Weekly and explained that the two of them run in the same circle of friends. Apparently they're having a really good time reconnecting and they're looking to give things a second chance. Quote, "They've been hanging out and are having fun together. They both respect and admire each other's talent. They have a lot of mutual friends, including Jack Antonoff. In fact, he was the one who was said to have set them up, given that they both share him as a producer." Matty recently performed at Taylor's concert in Nashville. He was seen in the VIP section cheering her on while intensely focusing on the music. They then fueled romance rumors even further when they seemingly repeated the same phrases during respective performances. While she was singing the song Cardigan, Taylor looked at the camera and mouthed the words, "This is about you, you know who you are, I love you." And Matty did the same thing at his concert in the Philippines, which of course was something that fans picked up on. These two clips were then posted side by side on TikTok, and it seemed like they were sending secret messages to each other. People couldn't decide whether or not they were serious or if it was just a prank. But now these moments are starting to make a lot more sense. And no matter which way you look at it, Swifties are having a pretty big reaction. Some of them have even joked about the fact that they want Joe Alwyn to come back in the picture, but obviously that's just not their choice to make. Right now, so much of Matty's past has been resurfacing online, and this has really caused a rift between fans who want to support Taylor's happiness no matter what, and those who just can't support her relationship. In January, Matty appeared on the podcast The Adam Friedland Show with co-host Nick Mullen. He mentioned that he tried to message Ice Spice on Instagram, and after that, the host started to mock her name relentlessly. He also said some pretty racist insults and mocked various accents. Although Matty didn't participate, he did laugh along with the other men. The backlash from that podcast was intense. Everyone on the show was called out by fans and fellow artists alike. Youngblood tweeted, "Love listening to 3 privileged white dudes sit around and objectify a young black female artist who's blowing up. Welcome to your 30s, I guess." Matty responded by mocking him on Instagram stories. That episode of the podcast has now been taken down off podcast platforms, but it still currently sits up on YouTube. The worst part is that Ice Spice claimed to be a 1975 fan before that episode, but it's possible that that might have changed. Matty did end up apologizing to her indirectly in front of an audience during one of his performances in Auckland. He said, "I just feel a bit bad and I'm kind of sorry if I've offended you. Ice Spice, I'm sorry. It's not because I'm annoyed that me joking got misconstrued. I love you, Ice Spice, and I'm so sorry." But even after all of his apologies, he hasn't managed to really stay away from controversy. So it's something that's gonna keep coming up time and time again in his new relationship with Taylor Swift. Now, did you know that Britney Spears is apparently broke? Mathew Rosengart is said to have started offering his services pro bono after he received more than $4 million from Britney since she retained him in July of 2021. According to sources, she paid him over $4 million between November of 2021 and March of 2023. This was all for the work that he did for her after her conservatorship was terminated. So why is Rosengart now working for her for free? Well, it's said that members of Britney's team became agitated that she was just spending so much money on legal fees, which was said to be around $6 million in total. They pushed back on Rosengart over his fees, and he agreed to work pro bono for the remainder of the case against her father, Jamie Spears. At the moment, Britney is still battling with him in court. Along with various lawyers, he allegedly took out $36 million from her estate, all throughout her nearly 14-year-long conservatorship. She was reportedly worth $60 million when it ended in November of 2021, but it's said that her finances have been dwindling ever since. Yes, she still has a lot of money, but her net worth is actually surprisingly small for a star of her stature. Others who've had a similar career like Jessica Simpson or Jennifer Lopez are sitting on fortunes of more than $100 million. But there's actually several reasons for this. According to the New York Times, as of 2021, her dad was receiving a salary of around $18,000 a month, all to act as her conservator. He was also said to have received a percentage of all the profits from her tours and sponsorships. Britney's legal team have said that Jamie enriched himself by taking more than $6 million from her earnings. He was also accused of using some of the earnings to pitch his own television show. In August of 2021, he made a shocking decision to step down as one of her conservators, which would likely mean that he wouldn't be able to count on any income from her. But of course, it was never that simple. Apparently, he tried to negotiate a large payout for himself before he finally agreed to walk away. Then, the month after her conservatorship ended, Britney put him on blast and exposed just how much he'd been controlling her finances. On Instagram, she wrote, "I'm embarrassed for the state of California for permitting my father to have me work as hard as he worked me all those years and never seeing a dime. I'm embarrassed for all of them, and I'm sad for them because I know my value and my worth now, and they lost me." Aside from her father, Britney also pays quite a bit in child support to her ex-husband Kevin Federline, all for their two sons Sean and Jaden. That number was said to be around $35,000 a month, but it increased in 2018. While we don't know exactly how much money he receives now, it's said to be thousands more than she was initially paying. Add all that to the fact that Britney just doesn't work as much as she used to. She stopped doing television commercials in 2015, hasn't released new music since 2016, and stopped touring in 2018. But that's not to say that she hasn't been staying busy. In January, she actually landed one of the biggest book deals of all time and received a $15 million advance from Simon & Schuster. She made the announcement on Instagram and said, "I'm writing a book at the moment and it's actually healing and therapeutic. It's also quite hard bringing up past events in my life I've never been able to express openly." Now, this news is such a big deal given how much she was censored during her conservatorship. Fans have been dying to hear about everything that really happened to her from her own perspective, because we only know part of the story. Plus, her sister Jamie Lynn Spears recently released her own memoir, and Britney was not too happy with the contents of it, so putting out her very own book would be the best way to hit back. There seems to be a bit of trouble with that though, as the memoir is said to be on pause. According to The Sun, the publishing house received some strongly worded legal letters on behalf of two A-listers. They were said to be worried about what was written in that book. An inside source said, "There's a fair amount of throwing people under the bus, talking about past relationships, some of whom will be revealed for the first time ever. Britney lived her life in the public eye, but there are relationships and people she had encounters with who she managed to keep under the radar, including some massive film star names and people from the music world." But if anything, the fact that the memoir is already getting a bit of pushback is a good sign. It was originally set to be released in the fall, although at the moment we don't know the official date when it will be released. And now, if you've watched the coronation, you might have been wondering what was said in King Charles's golden carriage. Thankfully, a lip reader has now analyzed that video and given us some answers. While he was waiting for his coronation to commence, he was caught on camera speaking in what appeared to be a frustrated tone. Viewers noticed that he uttered some unusual remarks and he was very clearly annoyed. He and Camilla sat awkwardly in their carriage for several minutes while they were waiting for the okay to enter Westminster Abbey. At that point, he vented his frustrations and two lip readers had now taken a look at the footage. Apparently, the king was saying, "We can never be on time," and he was referring to the delay. That delay was reportedly caused because of Prince William and Kate, the Princess of Wales. They were running so late that they had to join the king's procession through the church because they couldn't enter before him. At another point, Charles said, "I'm worried about time. I mean, it's been longer this time, and well, I mean, look, I know." And then another lip reader claimed that he said, "Yes, this is a negative. There's always something." So clearly he wasn't too happy with the timing. Another moment which had viewers on the edge of their seats was the official crowning. For a while, it actually seemed like the crown wouldn't fit on his head. The Archbishop of Canterbury spent several seconds adjusting it as the entire abbey was in complete silence. It was on the king's head firmly, and then it was twisted to try and keep it on. And there were a few other awkward moments at the coronation, like Katy Perry, who nearly fell to the floor when she broke one of her heels. Then once she got into the abbey, she was very obviously struggling to find her seat. She had to ask for help from those already seated. She ended up performing at the coronation concert, and she later tweeted, "Don't worry guys, I found my seat." Apart from that, most eyes were undoubtedly on Prince Harry. He was noticeably uncomfortable during most of the service. As he was walking into the church, he was chatting with his cousins Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, as well as their husbands. Although they were engaged in conversation, many people couldn't help but notice that he was the only one who came alone, which became even more apparent when he was sat in between two couples. Meanwhile, his brother William William, Kate, and their children were sat in the front row. As the service continued, Harry looked like he was just going through the motions. He sang the hymns and said the Pledge of Allegiance to Charles, but he never really cracked a smile or showed any sign of being happy to be back. We also didn't see any interaction between him and his immediate family. The only thing he did was glance at William a couple of times, although there was never a moment when the two of them caught each other's eye. After the service, Charles and William took part in the coronation procession back to Buckingham Palace, while Harry left the event alone. He was spotted traveling to the airport just hours after the crowning ceremony, and his flight landed in LA that very same evening. He wasn't invited to the balcony appearance, so he most likely just didn't feel like hanging around for a family reunion. As far as we can tell, tensions were pretty high at the royal event, and that's probably why he left the coronation in such a hurry. So what do you guys think about this latest story? Please let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.